7 sections, 3 sections, 20 subsections will go here. And covering this is going to take me a total of 12 classes with you. This broadly is what we'll be covering here. Now, more important question over here is this is what we do. Question more importantly is what am I supposed to be giving you and what are you expected to take away from here? To understand that, I need to first understand a very simple question. Is it possible to teach ethics? The answer is no. If I spend 12 classes, 30 hours with you, can I make you more ethical? The answer is no. Which is why, while I'm here inside these classes, my focus is very simple. You are sitting for a competitive exam, and in these 12 classes, my intention is to teach you how to get more marks than anyone else. Ethics is very, very simple, very, very straightforward. Right now, if I take a pause and ask you to write an answer for a case study, even right now, I'm fairly certain most students in this class can get 6 or 7 out of 20 very comfortably, very easily. My intention in these classes is to teach you how to take the score of 7 up to a score of 10, maybe 11, maybe even 12 out of 20. That is all that I'm here for. Now, if you want to increase your marks in this paper, I need to start with the assumption that every student sitting in this class has a realistic chance of writing the mains sometime soon. That you get a chance to write your mains. In the current pattern of the exam, if you get to write your mains and if you want to clear the mains, there are 2 papers that necessarily must go well for you. The first is the paper on the essay, the second is the paper on ethics. And the reason for that is very simple, because these are the only 2 papers where a student can confidently expect to get a score of more than 125. In GS paper 1, 2 and 3, no matter how hard you work, no matter how intelligent you are, most students will saturate at a score between 95 and 105. Only problem is, ethics and essay you can get 125 very comfortably. Only problem is that standing here, I'll tell you that a score of 125 is possible. When students go for the actual exam, when they get their mark sheets, their experiences are significantly different. Every year in the month of April, May, June, when the mark sheets are released, many students fail in the mains, some students fail in the interview. These people come back, when they show you your mark sheet, they will tell me that, sir, you should tell us that we can get 125 in ethics. I have given my mains twice, I have given my mains 3 times, but each time I'm getting a score somewhere around 80. Some students come back and say that I'm not even touching 80. Last 3 times that I've given the mains, I'm getting only 65. Lowest marks that I know personally in this paper is this one boy in 2016 who got only 45. Question then is that when I am saying that this paper is so simple, when I am saying that you can get 125, why are these students not able to get a decent score? They're not able to get a decent score because by the time they go and write their mains, they forget what we discussed in the very first class. And what did we discuss in the very first class? That in this paper, if you want to get marks, you'll first have to keep in mind that compared to the rest of your syllabus, this paper has 3 significant differences. Number 1, as I was just telling you, this is a highly interdisciplinary paper. If I compare this paper with GS paper 1, 2, 3, paper 1 you have geography. A question on geography is only a question on geography. A question on history is only a question on history. But a question on ethics simultaneously has elements of philosophy, elements of psychology, elements of sociology, all operating simultaneously in the context of public administration. What does this signify for you? That in this paper, if you want to get marks, you will not get marks only for theory. In this paper, what you get marks for is your ability to be able to develop interlinkages. The better you can link the different concepts, the better you can link these different subjects, better will be your content and better will be your marks. To simplify that for you, let me take the example of philosophy here. Let's say Mr. Manikant is taking a class with you and he's teaching you Plato. When he's talking about Plato, Plato will make a statement. Plato's statement will be that the punishment of those who do not participate in government is to suffer the punishment of bad men. Once again, that the punishment of those who do not participate in government is to suffer the punishment of bad men. The UPSC will give you the statement, will ask you to comment on the statement in 150 words. When you write your answer, you have 2 options. Number 1, if you want, you can speak only about Plato. You can talk about Plato's thoughts, you can relate them with Socrates, you can talk about Greece. If you write this answer, you're absolutely right, but out of 10, you'll get 4. If you write very well, you'll get 4.5 marks. Question more importantly is, how do I take the score of 4 or 4.5 to 6, maybe even 7? For that, link philosophy, for example, with what we're discussing in administration. What Plato said 2 centuries back, how is it related to what we're doing today? This is related by saying that this emphasizes the importance of promoting self-governance. This emphasizes the importance of better civic engagement. From India, this is why the government of India promotes something called Sevotam and so on. The better you're able to link these two areas, the richer will be your content and the more will be your marks. How you develop these interlinkages, this we'll discuss in the course of the classes. Second, students when they go to write this exam are not able to get good marks because they forget that this paper is highly abstract in nature. We're talking about ethics, we're talking about morals, we're talking about values, which is why making definite statements is extremely difficult. In this paper, especially in the use of case studies, you do not, and I'm repeating this, you do not get marks for decision making, you get marks more importantly for your ability to understand and explain an issue in as balanced a manner as possible. This one point over here takes me 3 to 4 classes before students start understanding what this means. But let me make a small beginning here. Simple question for you. I am telling you that there are two people. The first person is 6 years old, the second person is 60 years old. Both of them are extremely unwell. Both of them need urgent medical attention, but the doctor can afford to treat only one of them. Simple question for you is, who should the doctor try to save? The one who's 6 or the one who's 60? Who should the doctor try to save? The one who's 6 or the one who's 60? The one who's 6. And I just said 30 seconds back, do not make definite statements. Because when you make a definite statement, when you pass a decision over here, you are equally right, you are equally wrong. And when you make a decision such as this, you immediately cut your marks by half. As I asked this question, many students around me at least said that we'll save the one who's 6. So I'll disagree with you, and I will say that you should have saved the one who was 60. Why? Because number one, a 60-year-old is a productive, contributing member of society. He can work, and through his work, he can benefit others around him. The 60-year-old is only a dependent. So don't save the one who's 6, save the one who's 60. Second, which is more important, a 60-year-old is likely to have dependents on him. In all probability, he is married, he has a wife, he has children. Their responsibility falls upon him. So forget about the one who's 6, save the one who's 60. And the moment you start agreeing with me, I will change my answer and I'll say that you should save the one who's 6. Why? Because the 60-year-old has already lived a long enough life. Give the child a chance to live his. And second, again, which is more important, the 6-year-old has a longer life expectancy. So again, forget the elder person, save the child. What is the point over here? The point over here is that where the question does not demand, where the question does not deserve an answer, do not force a decision. When you force a decision, you're cutting the discussion down by half. And when you cut the discussion down by half, your marks immediately will decline to half. This point becomes even more important when we consider the use of case studies. I'm sure you people already know that in this paper, the second section, section B, contains 6 case studies, and these 6 case studies account for 50% of the weightage of this paper. In 2013, when this paper was held for the first time, students were, what should I say, students were very excited about case studies. Why were they excited? Because they had no idea what case studies were. They thought that we don't have to study something, so this is a very good area. By the time they came to 2017, 2018, this is one area where students preparing for the mains are most uncomfortable with. Why are they uncomfortable? Because they know that case studies are very small. Case studies seem to be very simple. The students think that they know the right answer. But when they write the answer down, out of 20 marks, majority of the students get only 4 or 5 marks. This raises the question, in case studies, if I want to score well, what exactly is required? 2 things. Number 1, good observation. Number 2, good expression. What observation means, I'll explain to you in about 5 minutes. Let me begin here first with expression. What do you mean by good expression? In one simple word, your ability to be able to write answers effectively. In every batch, in every class that we take, there are some students, and trust me on this, who are very intelligent, who are very hardworking, who are very serious. If you take these students outside the class, if you discuss an issue with them, they will give you ideas, they'll give you points that you won't even find in a book. Problem is that when you ask these same students to write that down on a piece of paper, especially within 200 to 50 words, these students are not able to do that. Which is why my very simple advice to you in the very first class itself, if you think you are a serious candidate for this exam, if you think you'll get a chance to write your mains, and if you think that your answer writing abilities are poor, Starting today, starting now itself, please start writing answers. If you start writing, if you start practicing this, I can't say this for GS paper 1, 2, 3. I will not recommend this right now for the theory in ethics, but yes, you can definitely write answers for case studies. Every class that we have, I'll take up with you sometimes 3, sometimes 5, sometimes 8 case studies, depending on what we're discussing. When you go back home, write an answer. When you're writing that answer, discipline yourself to write within 250 words. If you cannot write within the word limit in the exam, you'll never finish your paper on time. I will say this today, I'll say this in 2 or 3 subsequent classes also. But as I say this, I know that students have a mind of their own. They will think that at this moment, this year, let me just focus on studying. Next year, after the prelims, I'll come back to Delhi. I'll join a test series. And in the test series, they will teach me how to write better. If this is a thought that you have, if this is a line of thinking that you have, right here itself, let me tell you, you are absolutely wrong. And to understand why you're wrong, let me also admit to you the very ugly truth of this industry. This place where you are, these classrooms that you're attending, in these institutes, in these institutions, these classrooms, nobody cares about you. Nobody cares whether you pass, nobody cares whether you fail. For most of the people who are coming over here, you are not an ID card, you're not a roll number, you're not even a face in a crowd. We can't, given the size of these batches, they're so huge that we do not even know most of you sitting over here. If you pass in the exam, these people will take credit for your success. If you fail in the exam, they will pin the responsibility on you. Why did the student fail? Because he or she did not study well. When you come back, when you join a test series, any place that you join a test series, for the mains, how many students do we have? Whether it is Vajiram, whether it is any other institute, in these institutes you have roughly about 1500 to 2000 students per test series. If this girl sitting here writes an answer for a case study right now, checking one answer will take me 20 to 15 minutes. After reading it carefully for 15 minutes, I can tell her what she has done wrong. I can tell her how she needs to improve. Now consider 2000 students coming for a test. Every test contains 20 questions. These people give the test this Sunday. By next Sunday, we have to return the answer sheets to them. In 1 week, do you think the invigilators will read your answers carefully? Absolutely not. The feedback that they give you, do you think it will make any sense to you? Absolutely not. It will be very general statements. Your content is not good. Your examples are not appropriate. Your expression is not good. I know my expression is not good. Question more importantly is how do I improve that expression? Nobody is going to tell you. Which is why again, this is one student of mine, he got into the IRS I think 3 years back. Last year got into the IPS, this year again got the IPS, couldn't improve his rank. This boy, this was his 6th attempt. I think this year he's sitting for his 7th attempt. The first 3 attempts he was unable to clear the mains, and he was unable to clear the mains again only because he could not write well. And this is something that nobody can teach you. For this you'll have to put in the effort yourself. So again, if you believe that you're a serious candidate, if your writing abilities are poor, especially for case studies and the essay, please start writing as early as you can. These 3 points, if you're able to remember till your mains next year or the year after that, trust me, getting 125 in this paper is not a problem at all. And while you're here inside these classes, what will you focus on? In the class, 2 learning domains you focus on. The first is the theory. The second is what we call observation. What is theory? This is my responsibility. In every class that we have together, we will take up different sections from my syllabus. We look at the terms, we look at the concepts, I'll explain those to you. I'll try to take up as many examples, as many case studies as we can, and of course with that, I will also give you some notes. For example, if I consider what theory means, what do you understand by conscience? What is conscience? Second question, whatever conscience is, what is the crisis of conscience? Third question, whatever the crisis of conscience is, if I want to resolve it, should I use the deontological or the teleological approach? What these terms are, how you understand them, how you answer these questions is what we do over here. As we finish this, very honestly speaking, ethics is very small, ethics is very simple. If you attend the classes seriously, if you pay attention to what we're discussing here, and if you read your class notes carefully, that is more than enough to get 120, 130 in this paper. But students have a very legitimate question that next year when I go back home, is there any book I can read when I'm sitting alone? In the market, there are about 14 or 15 books already available for this paper. Not a single one of them is appropriate for this exam. Which is why when you have to consult something to read, 3 sources you will fall back upon. First, of course, from all 3 teachers, are your class notes. Number two, Vajiram is going to give you 3 yellow books. Have they given you a yellow book for ethics?
Yeah.
They should have given you one, they'll give you 2 more. Of these 3, 2 are based on theory, one is based on 100 case studies, which is more than enough for you. Number 3, in every alternate class that I have with you, I will recommend you some reading material. Sometimes these will be reports by the government, sometimes there will be specific chapters from certain books, sometimes there will be articles from newspapers and magazines. Beyond what is given over here, for this paper there is nothing more that you are expected to read. But while the syllabus is small, while the theory is very limited, what is important is that you know how to use this theory correctly. Which brings us to point number 2, observation. What is observation? That starting today, starting now, whenever you read a newspaper, whenever you witness an incident, whenever you come across an experience, you will not immediately pass a decision, you will not immediately make a judgment, you will always introspect about it and think about it, reflect about it in as balanced a manner as possible. Of all these words, the one that is most important for you people now is the word balance. Why is this important? Because every one of us is a product of the circumstances that we've been through. You were born into a particular family, you were brought up in a certain manner, you attended a particular school, you had certain friends, certain experiences, which is why it is very natural that each one of us has a certain prejudice, has a certain bias. When you're sitting for this exam, especially the mains and the interview, it is very important that you start teaching yourself how to reduce this bias and speak in as objective a manner as possible. When an incident is reported to you, do not immediately pass a judgment. Try to look at the different perspectives that are involved. Let me again understand this on a very simple level. Let me assume that I take the example of a city called Delhi. In Delhi, I'm telling you, there's a political party that is holding a rally. The rally is being conducted at some very large ground somewhere in Delhi. 50-60,000 people are attending. There's a stage set up, and on the stage, the politicians are giving their speeches. As the speeches are going on, a man enters this rally ground. He's a farmer. He belongs to a neighboring state, let's say a state called Rajasthan. This farmer is going through a lot of stress. So when he enters the rally ground, he ignores all the people, walks to the middle of the rally ground. There's a huge tree over there. He climbs on top of the tree. And when he climbs on top, from his bag, he tries to take out a rope. What is he trying to do? He's trying to hang himself. As he's tying the rope to the tree, how many people notice him? I'm not certain.